I can speak for everybody here that we're really excited to get started with preseason camp. Excited to have these two guys here who I think are great representatives of Harvard and the football program, and Ty Bartram and Jaden Craig. Ty's our 151st captain here at Harvard, a two-time All-Ivy player, and finals for the Bushnell Cup last year. Economics major, and Jaden, returning as starting quarterback, was All-Ivy last year, was finalist for the Walter Payton Award, another economics major. These guys are on a number of preseason watch lists, preseason All-American teams, and that's just a tribute to the work that they put in up to this point of their careers. So I'm really excited for you to get to talk with them. We believe we have the talent to compete with anybody on our schedule this year. But there's a number of positions where we graduate some guys. So, throughout training camp, we're going to have some competitions where roles will be defined, and that's what preseason camp is really for. But the reality is, the entire team is putting the work to this offseason starting in February to put themselves in this position to have the opportunity to compete for an Ivy League championship. So we're just all really excited to get started. I think it starts with Jaden at quarterback, returning him at quarterback, who is, I think, the best returning player in the Ivy League on offense, is obviously a huge strength. We returned technically 3 starters on the offensive line, but we had a 4th in Thomas O'Brien, who was playing 40+ snaps a game, at guard and tackle. So we're returning quite a few guys on the offensive line. I would say that, things we need to improve on. I don't know if it's improvement, and more as we just have to define, who's going to be getting all the touches, because we did graduate some really special players last year. There's talent there. There's been talent here. Coach Murphy did a great job recruiting. So it's more about defining those roles during preseason camp, because that's really what it's about. Who deserves to have the ball in their hand on offense. It starts with our secondary is our strength, returning a lot of snaps there, a lot of really good players. Starts with Ty returning, and defensive line. Alex DeGreek is a returning starter who has been very productive in his career. That's another position where, there's a lot of guys competing for roles, and that's where training camp is going to come into play, and linebacker as well. So, the back end, the nice thing about the back end is those guys are really involved with the run game quite a bit. So, even though you are figuring out who's going to be playing a lot of snaps, on the first and second level, with how much involved the DBs are with the run game, you feel good about where we're at with that.
I mean, first of all, it was a great blessing, be voted by your teammates, fellow peers, guys you go to work with every day. Try not to change as much, because I got that role because I was the person I am, the player I am. But obviously it comes with certain things, just communication wise, making sure everyone's locked in, and also just leaning on your teammates, in terms of there's never one captain on a team. There might be one C on a jersey, but we got a bunch of leaders on this team, so that helps as well.
Pressure is a privilege, but I think all of my personal expectations are all tied into the team expectations. My legacy is only going to be as great as the team was, so I'm really just focused on getting the team ready, getting offense right for Stetson week 1.
I think we're going to be great. I'm actually glad you asked this question, because I think we got 4 running backs. I mean, obviously Craig is great, but talk about the other guys real quick. I think we got 4 running backs that can play at a high level down the line. I think we got receivers that exploded during the spring, that are turning some eyes. And then obviously Seamus is a great tight end. But outside of that, I think we got 2 other tight ends that can play, and not Ryan Osborne. Along with that, I think our O-line is going to be solid. A lot of returners, a lot of old guys. And outside of that, just mentally, I think they're all going to be ready for week 1 and on.
I love competing against them. I think in terms of any defense we face as an offense, they give us the hardest looks. What you see pre-snap isn't what you're going to get post-snap. And, they work well, they're cohesive, and, they're well led by Ty. He's making all the calls and stuff like that. So, just expect a cohesive unit that, runs to the ball, they fly to the ball, they want to make every play. But they're definitely, fundamentally sound, and they always stick to their job.
These are grown men, so you don't have to trick them into thinking anything other than knowing, the expectations at Harvard are to win Ivy League championships. I knew that day one when I got here. That's the expectation every year, so it's not something you hide from. You really need to embrace the fact that you do have a big bullseye on your back. And I mean, we lost 2 games last year, and both opponents' fans rush the field. So there's not a lot of Ivy League schools where that happens at. So you got to embrace the idea that you are the villain and go in there with that idea like, yeah, everybody's going to give us their best game. And ultimately, the results will take care of themselves if you just focus on, daily improvement every day during training camp. And then, weekly being 1-0, you'll get to that point at the end where, have an Ivy League championship, have an opportunity to play for a national championship. So, but really, I'm not going to try to hide it from them. They know that's the expectations here. That's why they came to Harvard.